Yes, that's awesome. Hi, my name's Brea Watkins. I work for Levity Live Entertainment Company. We own and operate the world famous improv comedy clubs, along with some live entertainment full service restaurants, Copper Blues. I've also been in the hospitality industry a little over 30 years. I worked for a large upscale corporate restaurant concept for about 17 of those years. Spent a few years in the lifestyle brand and hotel, and then I've been with Levity for about 6 years as the director of learning and development. And I am really excited to do this. This is my first webinar as a panelist, so I'm excited.
Welcome aboard. We're so happy to have you both. Bummed that Sean isn't here, but the show must go on. Before we dive into each of our topics, I wanted to go over at a high level that each of you take a blended approach to new hire onboarding, and it looks a little bit different across all of these organizations. Levity Live, especially since you're an entertainment venue in and of itself, and Shake Shack is a massive national brand.
Levity is a little bit different because we work mostly at nights outside of special events. We tend to be the second job for a lot of individuals. They have that day job, and we fill that spot for them. We are open sometimes, 3 nights a week, 5 nights a week. Some locations that are really busy can do 7 nights a week. So we that's kind of is it's not consistent across the board as a brand. It just definitely depends on the location. So we really focus on how can we be most effective and efficient when we're onboarding and getting the staff member per se like in there and making money, because that's probably why they're coming to us initially. Outside of the love of comedy, of course, we're definitely a unique brand that way. So we have our HRS digital onboarding, in which a lot of that is now just pushed down in an email, a link. They fill it out. They get all their paperwork in. We validate that, right? So all those initial check marks when we're hiring. And then we schedule that orientation. And a lot of times, if it works out well during the week and we can get them into our payroll system, if you will, our HRS system, I should say, we'll schedule an orientation, which is a few hours. It is blended. So we use Opus. We started with Opus this year. I'm so excited. It has been a dream for us. And so there's a balance between utilizing Opus for some of that orientation material and conducting a full orientation in the venue with the general manager or an AGM. So there's that venue tour. There's getting your your uniform pieces, knowing where your lockers are, the whole walkthrough to make you feel comfortable in the building. But Opus offers that opportunity for us to also showcase. We do a culture video that introduces the new hire to our company and our brand and who we are. And we have the benefit of just being really exciting, right? Who doesn't want to see a video full of comedians and celebrities and feel like you're going to be a part of that? So we really want to showcase how exciting we are as a brand and how excited we are for them to be a part of that. We also add in those elements of here's how you can get into hot schedules. Here's how you can get into your Paylocity, which is what we use for our HRIS, and your paychecks, and also uniform and policies and things like that. There's all those pieces in there with that culture. And as well as we offer Support Link, which is, mental health and some other opportunities for counseling and such. So we add that in there. The great thing is, I feel like I'm going to showcase Opus a lot because we're really new to the system, is that we have the ability to then implement those resources automatically into their login for Opus, and so they have full access immediately to those, to the link to Paylocity, the link to Hot Schedules, the link to Support Link. They can get to that immediately, all the time, starting from day one. So a lot of times our management team can build in orientation on the front end. They have that daytime period before we open to do that, and they can jump right into day one training and start their training process. And depending on the role, it's anywhere from 3 to 5 days in which they're training. And I know we're going to dive in a little bit more with how that looks, but we assign designated trainers, we call them DTs, in which they get connected with somebody on day one for that training and how to learn with Opus and on the job of how to run the shift. So we try to just dive them in as quickly as possible to get them going, because that's kind of what they want, right? They have that second job, but they have to get somewhere else.
That's great. That's also pretty consistent with, I remember what Sean brought up, is that Black Seed Bagels, they also have a pretty quick um, duration for their new hire onboarding, because it is a lot of like getting the HRIS in, getting them acquainted with all their tools. And something that he mentioned was, getting them immersed in the space and getting them on the floor as soon as possible. So getting connected with your manager, knowing all of the ways to communicate, and meeting your team so that you understand, what you're in for, and making it as realistic as possible. Great. Okay. I'm so excited about our first topic. Priscilla, I feel like this was a huge morsel of wisdom from our kickoff call, is that onboarding is not just orientation. Do you want to expand on that more? That's amazing. Brea, I remember previously you were with Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah, that's right. I think that in regards to onboarding is not just, showing your ID at the time of hire. It is a continuous ongoing process, especially that first, 6 months to a year, depending on the role. It just, when we have our designated trainers, and then we have hourly supervisors, and then we have our salary management. And so we try to provide this like stepping stone of growth for our teams. And one thing about our trainers is that they get an opportunity to really connect with the trainees. We don't always assign just one trainer to one trainee throughout their training. They're assigned different trainers throughout their week. And the way when we certify our trainers, we have this conversation with them about being their person and reminding them of what it was like when you were new and you were stepping into a new company, and that they know nobody else but you're their person. They trust you. You taught them, you taught them the ropes. They were allowed to be vulnerable with you in some ways. And so they trust you in a way that, they're going to go to you, not just that day or that week, but you're going to be their person for a while, that they're going to go to you probably before management, before somebody else, to get those answers and to be open, kind of have that availability to them and have that kindness. And that's really how we build, that tight knit kind of family community within our teams. And then along with that, providing the benefits and opportunities to grow into that DT role or supervisor role, I think also keeps everyone kind of engaged. Our managers definitely touch base with our new hires throughout, that 30 days. We have a follow-up certification, and then we have a 60-day, and then we have, of course, our annual with everybody. When it comes to management, that onboarding experience, the training is much longer, of course. It's multiple weeks, and then we have follow-up meetings. We have our 60-day assessments. They get to meet with the director. They're meeting with me. It really is, I'll take them out to dinner, and we'll have that comfortable conversation along with the assessment of just making them realize that we are a unit and we are all working together. There is, as much as there may be a hierarchy, we all have a common goal, and working towards that common goal of success, we work like a unit. So they feel a little more open to have that open, honest conversation with the things and the tools that they need, or the challenges that they may have. I'm constantly saying, what can we do for you to be successful? What can I get you? What more training, and along with those assessments. And then, of course, again, we do your 60-day, or 6-month, and then our year. But we found that we don't have a lot of turnover in management because of that. I think there is some cohesiveness. We do regional meetings in which a lot of the GMs come together weekly, and they lean on each other, and we have those conversations, and that kind of builds that bond, because we don't have the benefit of having a location right down the street. Right. So we have, 25 locations across a nation, or the US. And so we can't just run over and help out, we're going to spread out, but Zoom has really offered that opportunity for us to connect. And so we make those efforts.
And Brea, are you using Opus for your onboarding and training, correct?
Yes, absolutely. It's all in there, and we're using it for both staff level and management level. We're really building
Mm-hmm.
out that management side, uh, and delivering both, on the job kind of task driven learning, if you will, like just our policies and procedures. But we're building in soft skills and
Wow.
allowing for that. And we just brought on compliance training. So we're rolling out our sexual harassment and our serve safe manager level, our food safety training to our manager level right now. We're really embracing that. Because we try to just look for the best way to be able to track it. My department is a department of one. So
Mm-hmm.
any tools that I can have for reporting and tracking and analytics, I'm in. The team in general has fully embraced it. They find it to be so super easy and helpful. The way that we've implemented our even our trainers to utilize it as a leader, so they have accessibility to conduct check-ins on the job. And the way that we've kind of built it in is you would come in and you would have that. We believe in no one does work at home, so they need to be on the clock. They need to be in the building when they are doing any sort of training. So they would come in, they're scheduled to come in, go through any of the Opus kind of course material, quizzing. It's very quick. It's usually less than a half an hour, if you will, from beginning to end. And then they go into their shift. They're on the job. They're with their side by side with their DT, with their trainer. And then at the end, the trainer gets an opportunity to go into Opus straight from their device and validate a selection of questions and on the job training tasks that needed to be completed, and add their notes and such to kind of seal up the day, right? And of course, a manager always has a sit down with both the DT and the trainee each shift, just to check in and make sure all is okay. But if you have that series of events, and let's say you have it over 5 days, and you can go into Opus and pull a report that looks at those check-ins and see if there's a progression there. A trainer can go in and see the notes from before and see that there may have been a struggle or a challenge that they can focus on the next day. That helps create confidence in that trainee, right? Without even having to really have that full conversation, we can shift in how
Mm-hmm.
our approaches are in our training to make sure that there's no gaps. We kind of fill those gaps.
Wow. So wait, I love that. It's very holistic. Are you also tailoring, like personalizing the training experience to the individual employee based on like where their strengths and weaknesses are showing?
I'm not sure if that was for me. So yes, for especially our supervisors, our hourly supervisors are usually staff that have been with us for a while, and they're looking towards management. Our supervisor roles are part-time, so they still, let's say you have a server, they're also a trainer, want to move into that supervisor role, they'll work a few shifts as a supervisor as well as also stay as a server, right? So we will, but we have supervisors, not just servers. Maybe they were also a door host, or maybe they were a box office attendant, or whatever the case may be. So we will tailor within the training structure to accommodate for whatever they're already certified in. Right. Like there's no need because, we really truly believe that, to manage, you need to know. And so we have them go through a condensed training process for the other roles, and so that they can help best be a support on the floor when they are supervising, because they have a little bit of that empathy for what they do, and they have an understanding of what they do in their role, even though maybe they've never been a door host or they've never been a server. So we kind of implement that condensed version, and I have templates, and I go in and I kind of manipulate that internal supervisor training to focus directly on whoever's being promoted to that role.
That's amazing. There's like collective knowledge and expertise to leverage no matter where you are. I think that's a great segue into our next section on building trust and credibility through your managers. I know that, Brea, you have like a huge emphasis on train the trainer and identifying leaders on your team who can help carry out, and Priscilla said earlier, brand ambassadors who are really good representatives to new team members. My opening question would be like, how do you uplift team leads and managers to become trainers within your organization?
Yeah, we're a small community again, so I think that it's a collection of things, right? You have to love the industry. You have to love what we're doing specifically. We're in the comedy industry. It's very unique. We serve in the dark. We do silent service. There's all these unique elements. Again, we're open only nights mostly. So to kind of that initial buy-in is really the love of the industry, right? And embracing that. We are so open to go see a show. Go see a show, come out to Hollywood. When we promote a manager, we bring them out to our flagship location in Hollywood. We take them to dinner. We go to a show. We may go to another location that also delivers comedy to kind of see that balance of our industry, and we're always building that relationship with the talent, building that relationship of our industry. That's huge. A lot of our staff, they're also comedians or they're in the industry. Even those that aren't in California, that aren't in Los Angeles. I know for a fact 3 staff members in our Raleigh, North Carolina location that are also comedians, and we give them an opportunity to be a host on one of our shows and get that stage time. I think that just understanding that our love of the industry and what we do and how we do it and being the best at it, that buy-in to our culture is invaluable. Like it's so important to gain that loyalty. I think that especially now, post-pandemic, if you will, that loyalty piece hasn't always been there for us like it was in the past. And someone wants to jump ship very quickly to go to the next gig down the street because they know it exists, right? So to foster and kind of focus in on gaining that engagement and investing in our people. And if they see that and they know that and they see that development, we have very few locations, but we hire within first, we promote within first. And I think we have that conversation coming into that initial interview. Really, we ask the question, who's your favorite comic? Tell us a joke. Have you, been in the entertainment industry before? We treat it like a production. So, and that they're part of that production. So I think it's just an investment piece. When it comes to building that trust through our management team, I would say 90% of our managers are internal. I have a GM right now that was a door host, 6 years ago. And
Wow.
really just was so in love with the company and here he is today. So to see that from a staff level is they're like, how can I do that? I want to do that. It's so awesome that I can. We really will make room for development, and if we see someone that has the right potential because of we feel like we're a right fit. We're a fit for them, and they're a fit for us. There's been plenty of promotion where there wasn't previous experience, but we would embrace them and build that program for them to make sure that they're successful on their path. And if that means that we're adding an additional week of training, or we're bringing in, sometimes I will, we had a promotion. We have an amazing staff member. She was promoted into management, but her administrative skills just weren't as strong as others. And so we built some training around that. We kind of came around here. We brought everyone in from corporate side, from IT to finance to HR. We found some programs that from third party that was able to provide her some of the confidence she needed to do her administrative piece of the job. And that speaks, that just built her confidence so high that she's one of our strongest managers at that location, and she is the go-to, and she feels so good about it, everything. But we had to kind of rally around that person, and because we believed in that person and we knew that she loved what she did and she wanted to be a part of this industry. So I think that personal touch is huge. We're a small corporate space. We don't even like to call ourselves corporate, to be honest with you. We're like, shh, we have a corporation. And so we wear many hats anyways. So we kind of know what it's like, and we want to kind of self-teach in a way sometimes. And so we want to invest, and we want to give that same opportunity to any level in our company.
That's amazing. Hallie pointed out in the chat that like prioritizing the internal pipeline is game changing. So raising up the people that you already had is like retention and promotion and getting trainers all in one.
Yeah, I think that with, you hit the nail on the head with that. We end up being that liaison, right? We have to take information and we have to deliver it in a certain way in which it's received the best way possible, right? So then they can do what they're supposed to be doing. And so, that's really how I look at things. How can we best deliver this information, and so we can educate at the highest level and then support.
Amazing. I love that. I'm like making mental notes of all the takeaways I want to include in our recap. So I think we can wrap up this section and move into the Q&A. Would anybody from the audience like to dial in or drop a question in the chat? You're more than welcome to pop in and join us. Okay. So a lot of the questions that came in with registration were surrounding streamlining. So there are a lot of technologies at play. Technology makes it faster, makes it easier to communicate. And then, the thing that's impactful is having a really strong culture and a really strong sense of belonging. How do you streamline all of that across so many team members? And like, what tips would you have for someone who's looking to refresh their new hire onboarding?
Well, again, just being so small, we had to really kind of, I call it storyboarding. I storyboard it out, right? Like, really look at what is going to be valuable and impactful, and then what can't is, for lack of better words, the fluff, if you will, right? So really to streamline is how when staff only learns about 30%, when they retain only 30% of what they're learning, you can't fill it with a bunch of things that is going to distract them, right? So really drilling down to what is going to provide them the information they need and focus in on that. I also try to kind of hit a couple of, I call it senses, if you will, just multiple ways of, with videos and with on-the-job training, and kind of everything links together. But so if you can do that, I think that you can streamline anything to get from point A to point B, right? And just kind of take out the filler. With that, I think that it, the DT, well, for me, the trainers, we have what we call a trainer class. So they go through a course of focus, and then we bring in from a variety of different, all the roles, if you're going to be promoted to trainer, and we bring them in, we have a class, what we call a DT class. And here we don't only focus on like, here's how you train somebody, and this is what you should do. We really talk more about how are you going to engage with your trainer and or with your trainee. And we also do a lot of team building within that class. I let them know that I was like, you guys are your own work group. Nobody, if they're not here, they're not a trainer. They don't understand when you are assigned a trainee and you're going into a Friday night shift and what that looks like, and the extra stress and the patience that you have to have. But everybody sitting next to you does. And so this is a work group. You guys are a team. So we do an exercise where we talk about, it's a round table, if you will. We kind of put it in a hat. We try to guess who it is of a thing that someone doesn't know about you. right? So, I mean, I had someone that was like, "Oh, I was a professional violinist for years," and we're like, "What? That's crazy." Okay, so that's something. And afterwards, we talk about, "Wow, you guys all know something about each other that nobody else in this building knows." And so what I'm trying to do is build that bond and that to lean on each other and to kind of have that cohesiveness where it's you don't feel alone and you don't feel you're frustrated. You're on your third day of training and you have somebody there that understands it. So but when we're focused on training our trainers, it really is how can we get the best result out of our trainee, and why is that important to you? And it's important to you because they're going to be working next to you in about 5 days. And so it's really important that we give them the tools they need to be successful. So it's easier, the shift's easy for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how we fixate. We fixate on that. To me, that's streamlining. It's efficiency because we're getting down to the core needs so we can be successful.
That's awesome. I love the idea of having a game plan. And also, I wanted to say that the next big topic and a lot of the questions that came with registration was around consistency and ensuring standards. And you're right, it starts with having a consistent person. Are there any questions? Yes. Okay, we have a question from Mark. I'm a consultant and I have a UK restaurant group as a client. They'd like to do more online training without losing the personal touch. Which things would you keep in person and which would you move to online? That's a great question.
Yeah, and I think that making sure that the material feels like the brand and that utilize people within the company. We did a huge, like, kind of, I called it action shot photo shoot in a couple of our different venues. We also try to get videos in which then it looks like the brand and you're seeing your peers. So when you're taking an online course or you're taking some training that's virtual, like it's not a robotic. It's Bob from accounting. No, it's it's somebody that you may see in real life and engage with, or you may recognize their face. It looks like the environment that you're in. I think that that's really important. I know that there's a lot of tools in which I also use out there, especially with AI. But what I've found is that I really need to make sure that I'm keeping that personal connection visually, that they feel like we put the effort in and that they are seeing exactly what they're going to see in real life. I think that when it comes to what I'm putting in online and what I'm putting in on the job or in person, any conversation or training that is specific to the person, I feel needs to be in person, right? Online training or through an LMS or what have you is more of like policy or standard practice or delivering information, because you can utilize the tool as a way of making sure that they understand the information by providing quizzing and such like that we can record and we have that information. But when it's more of a task that you can have that side by side with, that maybe they need to physically do or show, those are your in person, right? Like I can't, I mean, and I'm going to keep it really simple, but I don't know if you can carry the tray unless I watch you carry the tray. I can tell you how to carry the tray and online, but that's a really big disconnect. So that's on the job, that's in person versus, talking about standard practice of you must use a tray when you're serving. Those are two different things. And so that's why that needs to be blended. But to keep it without losing that personal touch, I really do think that visual, keeping things visually connected to whatever the brand is really important.
That's amazing, Brea. We have one more question in the chat from Hallie that I'd love to get into. We are at time, so I understand if anybody has to drop off. Thank you so much for joining our webinar today. Hallie's question is asking about something that was mentioned earlier. I think, Brea, you were talking about how you identified managers who were lacking in those admin-specific needs and lacking those skills, and you developed training for them to get them to that place. Hallie says that she finds herself torn with the internal promotions not fitting everyone, or not everybody fits the supervisor to salaried leader transition training, that granular needs are needed. But is that practical, and can you do that at scale?
That's a really great question. I do think that it goes back to management really understanding who's promoting within their venue, right? So not everybody's a fit. Not everybody's a fit, and that's okay. I think that comes with your experience as a manager to see if that's where we're going to put our energy into. I think that it's a case by case. I don't know if that's something that we're like, oh, we have this program here. If you need to learn Excel, I mean, we can do that. And that could fit the masses, but it's not necessarily going to fill the gap with those that maybe have specific needs. I think that it's going to end up being that deciding if that we're going to invest in that person because they hit so many other marks, and that they are that fit to the industry or to the company or to the venue, that they're invaluable in so many other ways, right? So I think that then you take the time, and that's for the, let's say, a GM or a director, our directors to acknowledge and say, hi, we have this person. They have great potential. We want to invest in them. We're going to put a series of things that we want them to either work on, and we're going to continue to meet with them. That may not be everybody. It just may not. But if you have somebody that is wanting to be developed and reach into management and grow with the company, I think a lot of honest conversation is going to happen. And decide if that's really for them. We have a course that we do. It's called Is Management for Me, in which there is a series of steps that they need to go through, but with both their management team and with a couple of outside sources, like other general managers and directors. And they go and they find certain answers and ask certain questions and sit in on certain things to decide if that's even something that's going to fit their character, if like that's going to fit what they kind of want to do every day. Because the worst thing is to invest in somebody and then they're like, wow, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, and I don't think this is for me, right? So I think that it really does come down to a case by case, but having those tools available, and it might be just because we're small, right? Again, I have 15 GMs and a few crews, so I get an opportunity to really spend that extra time, and so does the directors. So, but I would say that if you have the tools, if you created the tools, if you have that ability to do that and readily available, why not, if you think that the person has the potential to grow with our company successfully?
I love that. I love the idea of like an Is Management Right for Me course that they can take to make the decision themselves before even going down that path. That's so smart. We are a few minutes
and
over.
You would be surprised.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying,
Oh,
you'd be
okay.
surprised how many will say, you know what, I really appreciate going through that. It gave me some clarity, and I think I'm good right where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. We are a few minutes over. Okay. I want to close this out. There will be a recap sent in your inbox probably early next week with a recording, takeaways, access to any trainings, and this presentation deck for you to dive back into later. And then next month, we are covering what's trending in labor law, so keep an eye out for that announcement by signing up for if you're new to Opus. Sorry about that. And thank you so much for attending. Thank you, Brea and Priscilla. You were amazing. Amazing.
Thank you. It was fun.